Hey guys, it's Lucas. Recently, I've been catching up on a lot of Caleb Wilson film. A 6'10" freshman forward out of North Carolina. Obviously, suffered that hand injury, and so since he's been out of the lineup and we don't really know exactly when he's going to return, I've been catching up a lot. So I want to take a look at some of the stuff that's popped the most to me and kind of talk through it a little bit. So let me get that out of there. So right here, you see that's just a quick decision. That pass really stood out to me. That's when I decided to start clipping all of this. I think he's pretty underrated as a positional passer. As you can see right there, another nice little kick out pass. Moving around, popping out for the three, hits the three ball. Um, Obviously, that's something he's going to need to continue to improve. He's only shooting 26% from three, super low volume, 7 out of 27 total on the season, 71% from the free throw line. Kind of affects him as a spot up scorer and as a creator and an outside threat. It's 2026, got to be able to shoot it a little bit, but Caleb Wilson, as of right now, is still number 4 on my board, and he's in a tier of zone at that spot. I've got the 3 up top, you know, Cam, AJ, Darren, whatever order you want to go, but then at number 4, I've got Caleb there all by himself. And a lot of this that we're going to see today is why. So right here, transition impact, he's got a good enough handle to be able to push it himself, able to get through the defense right there with the little Euro. So this one right here, you see handle, get into a spot, kind of mid-range pull-up. Maybe not like the number one shot you'd want him to go to, but he's been hitting it at a pretty high clip this year. He was really shooting the mid-range a lot at the beginning of the year, and per Bartorvik, he's shooting 44.4% on non-rim twos, self-creating 71% of those. Obviously, that includes stuff, like mid-range pull-ups like we just saw, floaters, hooks, etc. And he's actually hit a pretty decent amount of those, as we'll continue to see. He hits some that don't even really make sense, and some that are straight up just bad shots, but they've gone in at a pretty decent rate. The length and the athleticism pop right there. He's a real lob threat. Footwork right there. You see nice little spin fade, another mid-range that I was talking about. Sets a solid screen right there and takes off. He's got that pogo stick bounce. That was an and one right there, actually. His athleticism and his length, they just really pop. They help him serve as a lob threat. They help him finish explosively above the rim like you just saw. And as you're going to continue to see, he was on pace to shatter the dunk record for a freshman. He's got, I believe, 60 something of those in the 26 or so games that he's played. 24 games, let me correct that. And let's just continue to watch. Gets the block right there. Like I said before, his handle is good enough to be able to push it in transition by himself. Similar Euro to the last one, finishes through the contact. I really like his ability in transition. There's another mid-range where you're kind of just like, oh, okay, and it goes in. But his transition impact, like I said, his length and his athleticism really pop. And a fair share of his turnovers do happen in transition. Like when he does turn the ball over, that's typically where I feel like it's happening the most. But overall, he's still got good turnover economy. He's not really turning it over much. And his turnover percentage is at 12.6, like I had alluded to with the first play. Solid positional passer for sure. Right around an 18 assist percentage, 1.5 assist to turnover ratio, right under 3 assists a game. He makes pretty solid decisions, quick decisions. He can, kind of create some stuff as a playmaker or as a passer more so. He's not really like making live dribble reads, but he can make solid passes from a set, whether that's a part of the play or kind of just something that he improvises. He's done a pretty good job at that. But going back to the transition thing, I'm kind of just rambling at this point. He can push it himself, or he can just get out and run the lanes by himself. His transition impact is also just really important because of his ability to turn defense into offense, which we'll get into a little bit more later. But he would look really good alongside a point guard who wants to play fast, like Tyrese Halliburton or LaMelo Ball or Trae Young in Washington now. So right there, nice little pump fake, get right through. The footwork in the post like that sometimes, attack the closeout right there. Finish on the weak side. Lob right there. That one's nasty. Right here, backing him down in the post. He's been efficient as a post-up scorer this year, ranking in the 91st percentile points per possession. You know, he's been really efficient. Like I said, we kind of get flashes of some nice footwork, but he can still be a little loose. Like right there, that's a flash of really nice footwork, but he can still be a little loose, if you will, at times. Not really going to be backing people down in the league. Quick spins in the post a lot too, which is very good for him. Let me pause before we continue this play. He likes the spin move a lot, especially down low in the post. And with his agility and his quickness for his size and even some of his flexibility, he's able to make a quick move like that and get around his defender. So, like we were talking about, turning defense into offense right there. Picked his pocket, taking it himself, long strides, you see, throwing it down. That's just easy offense. And here we go again, semi-transition. Nice little spin move again. Think he probably could have got all the way to the rim with that little mid-range jumper that he's kind of been loving. Loses the handle a little bit right there. Like I said, his handle isn't nothing amazing, but I think that he's got good enough. That's a nice little pass to a cutter right there. And like I said, his handle is nothing too crazy. You're not really going to be asking him to be your primary scorer or probably even your secondary scorer. But I think that if he could be your third scoring option, just getting buckets in transition, quick spins in the post like that when the opportunity arrives, being a willing cutter, scoring off offensive rebounds and putbacks, because he just throws down some putback dunks that don't even make sense, and he creates second chance opportunities doing so. And if you can get him to improve as a shooter or improve in spot up situations, I think that there's definitely upside for more in some of his comfortability in the mid range and the flashes that we see when he's driving to the rim. I think that those definitely point to that there's a little bit more there. I will add again that I don't think he's ever really going to be a primary scorer or a secondary scorer, but if he can be your third scoring option and bring what he brings as a versatile defender and just be a winning player overall, I mean, sounds good to me. So another quick spin, takes off from way over there, the length to just finish right through. This one right here, every time I watched it, I forgot that he's about to dunk, and then it's just like every time I'm like, whoa, okay. But right there, the spin again. Nice little footwork. Like I said, the flashes of that are really nice. Nice little creation upside in the mid post area, with how comfortable he is taking jumpers like that, but then also being able to get around his defender with quickness and stuff like that. Love the Euros in transition. Very smooth with those. Let's see. I don't remember what happens on this one. Oh, just a nice little cut, Good cutter. Good willing cutter. High points the rebounds. Does a really good job at that. Look, pushing it here. I love this pass. Look at that. Another cut. Just taking off like, come on, man. Look at that. Get right through, and one. Little screen. I mean, some of these dunks that he had early in the year like that are just nuts. Quick little pass right there to the cutter. Fakes the handoff. Gets right here like he likes to. Finishes through. Gotta like it. I mean, the spin into the dunk right there. I mean, how many times have you heard me say that already? I feel like I'm just saying the same thing over and over. But talking about the rebounding a little bit real quick, 10.5 offensive rebounding rate, 22, give or take, defensive rebounding rate. His ability to turn those defensive rebounds, like, come on, what the hell is that? The defensive rebound into transition offense, gotta love that. But then the offensive rebounds, just look at the body contortion on that and being able to finish through that body movement, that body control, good pass in transition, good hit ahead. But back to the rebounding. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of first time doing this. The rebounding, creating second chance opportunities on the offensive glass and being able, that's one of the craziest ones right there, that dunk. I'm sorry, the defensive rebounding rate, obviously just being able to push that himself or get it out ahead to his guards or whatever. I think he does a pretty good job at all of that. Look at that right there. That's disgusting. He is shooting 72% at the rim, and obviously he's got a lot of dunks. You're not really going to miss too many of those. But he's self-creating about half of his attempts at the rim, so that's solid. Like I said, definitely going to need to improve as a shooter. But he does a good job drawing fouls as well at about a 62 free throw rate. So, it shows the physicality. It shows that he's able to play through contact. It shows his, even drawing a foul on a jumper right there. It kind of just shows his, his mindset when scoring down low and going through the contact and finishing plays and finishing over defenders and whatever. You get what I'm saying. Nice little runner right there. Some of these passes to the cutters, whether they're designed or not, they're nice to see because, believe it or not, even if they are designed, teams are going to see that he can do that and then put him in those actions at the NBA level as well. So, gotta love to see that. It's the positional passing, honestly, that I think is pretty underrated. It's nothing amazing, like I said. It's not like he's, LeBron or anything like that, but definitely someone that you can put in certain types of actions and stuff. So as you can see, we've kind of shifted a little bit more to the defense now on the clips. Look at that. Able to recover. With his defense, I really just think he has the upside and the versatility to guard multiple positions effectively. He's a nice help side rim protector. He's able to do stuff like we just saw right there. He can switch on out to perimeter players, and when he gets beat on the perimeter, he has the necessary length and movement skills to recover and make up for some of that when he gets blown by. Like right there, he kind of let the defender get by him. And you can't really bullshit with him guarding you. He has quick hands. He's really not afraid to like get him in there, and he's engaged. Sometimes he'll just straight up take the ball from the guy that he's guarding, and off the ball, I think he knows where to be. And like I said, doing a good job blocking shots and help side. He can play down low. He can disrupt out on the perimeter, and he does a pretty solid job at reading the passing lanes, jumping the passing lanes, and like we alluded to before, his ability to just create the defensive plays and turn them into easy offense on the other side is just amazing. And his energy is contagious. Stuff like that really can't be looked past. He gets it's just contagious. His energy is contagious. He guards with such a high motor and so much passion, and there's always got to be a little crazy to your high level defenders. And there's still some stuff that he can refine around the edges to, be a little bit more consistent on that end. But he's 19 years old. You got to remember that with these kids. He's still going to improve. I'm sure most NBA coaches are going to put him in a position to where he will succeed. I think if you're asking Caleb Wilson to be a primary scoring option or a secondary scoring option, maybe at his peak he could be that. But I think if you're kind of asking him to be that day one, I think you've got a completely wrong assessment of what he brings to the table. And he's obviously shown the ability to carry some of that weight load, with a 28.5 usage rate here at North Carolina. But I think if anything, that just points to how he'll be able to scale down in the league. And, like I said, some of the spot up stuff, some of the isolation stuff just isn't really where you want it to be, but it doesn't need to be, especially not day one at the NBA level. Like to hit his highest potential, his highest ceiling down the line, you would like to see that stuff improve. But I think he just does so many other things, at a good or a great level that, you take the efficiency on quick post-ups or transition offense or just serving as a willing cutter. Not everyone can have the ball in their hands. Caleb doesn't need the ball in his hands. So like I said before, I'd love to see him next to a guy like Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton would be amazing. And then also being able to learn from a guy like Pascal Siakam in that situation. That would be great. So that's really about all I have to say right here. Wasn't the deepest of dives, kind of just surface level stuff, but I really like Caleb Wilson's game, and he's in a tier of his own at number 4 for me. So let me know what you guys thought. Comment your thoughts down below, and hopefully next time I can do something like this again. Maybe not get sidetracked so much and have a few more notes prepared to go along with the video. But I appreciate everyone for watching, and let me know what you think about Caleb Wilson down below.